Hello audience. A few videos ago I showed you this truck, specifically what it is, the condition it's in, and what I plan to do with it. And a lot of you absolutely loved it, so in this video I'm going to start working on it. If you haven't already seen that video, I'll put a link to it somewhere in here. But mostly what I plan to fix on this is related to the cab, the way it's constructed and its dimensions. But in this video, what I'm going to do is first take the cab off the frame and repair the body mounts and a few other things wrong with the frame. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do is evict a bunch of spiders. And here we see the body mount towards the back. It's broken, but it's still working. Now up front, the one that goes in the front of the body is missing, and it's got this crudely homemade replacement. It was working like that, but I did find a few originals, so I'm going to swap them out while it's here. The right side is pretty much the same story. Actually, that mount's okay, I'll probably leave it. But there's the other homemade one. And while I'm at it, I noticed the running board brackets are kind of bent up. The rivets on them are loose, and some of the rivets have already been replaced with bolts. So I think I'm just going to remove these, clean them up, straighten them out, and then bolt them back on. Alright, I straightened these out. They're not perfect, but they're a lot better than they were. Now this is the strange thing about it. Now, most of the rivets had already been drilled out on all of them, which is not uncommon. People drill out the rivets to remove them. But each bracket had at least one rivet still in it, which made no sense. After I drilled out the rivets, I noticed something interesting. Now this is a typical factory rivet, or both of these. The heads are symmetrical, they're round. The part that's been peened over also pretty symmetrical. Sometimes these are a little distorted, but most of the time they look like that. The rivets that I drilled out look like this. I would say these are definitely not originals. These are homemade, because I've homemade rivets in the past and that's what they look like. So it looks like somebody removed the brackets for reasons unknown. Maybe they were broken and they found better ones, and then put them back on, partially with homemade rivets and partially with random bolts. And speaking of the bolts, it gets more interesting. Now, first of all, I have never seen a bolt head that looks like this. I assume it started out as some kind of carriage bolt. What's really interesting about it is the heads of all these nuts, they're not 9/16 or 5/8, they're 15 millimeter. Now, just for fun, I checked the thread size against the taps that I have, and they don't fit anything imperial or metric. So I have no idea what standard these are or where they're from. The only thing I can say for sure is they're definitely not going back on. I'm just going to buy new hex head bolts and hex head nuts. They'll look good and they'll be easy to install and remove if needed. Problem is, the brackets are now straightened out and they're solid on the frame, so now nothing lines up anymore. And that's all finished. The running boards are a lot more solid than they used to be now. The body mounts, I fixed those. Now, obviously, I'm going to have to clean this up and repaint all this eventually. I'm trying to keep this from turning into a complete restoration, which I just don't have the time or the space to do right now. But for now, it'll work, and it's better than it was. Now, while we have it this far apart, and get a better view of the Ward's transmission and the homemade cross member for the U-joint housing. And I got the cab bolted back down. Surprisingly, all the mounting holes still lined up. I didn't have to re-drill any of them. Anyway, I think I'm going to end the video here. Probably next time we'll start working on the cab. So, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.